rig, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people, we'll make them see a world of justice, united and free. United and free. United and free.
Presiding.
You can all be seated. All right, we are on the record in FECR 153477, State of Iowa versus McKinley Louisma. The state appears by Lynn County Attorney Nick Maybanks and First Assistant Lynn County Attorney Monica Slaughter. A defendant appears in person with Attorney Jill Eimerman. In an order entered on November 14, 2024, the court accepted the jury's verdicts finding defendant guilty of murder in the first degree, kidnapping in the first degree, and conspiracy to commit a forcible felony. We're here today for the scheduled sentencing hearing. Is there any reason why we cannot proceed with sentencing today? Mr. Maybanks, Ms. Slaughter? All right. Would the state like to be heard on sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor, and I would note that we do have two registered victims here today to offer a statement to the court. Melody Hoffman's parents, Tyler Hoffman and Megan Hoffman. Your Honor, it's been difficult to find words to describe this crime and what happened that night in February throughout the course of this entire case and all the way through trial. Melody Hoffman left her home where she was loved and cared for, an exuberant and lively, gregarious person, loved by many people who are here today to support her, believing that she was going to go with somebody who also cared for her, but instead, as this court knows, and as this court heard the trial, she was brutally and sadistically murdered. It's cases like this why we have Class A felony, mandatory life in prison without possibility of full sentences. This is a case where that sentence is the most severe human sentence that we can impose. And it's cases like these where it's undoubtedly deserved. We're asking the court to impose the mandatory life sentences in this case and a 10-year sentence for the conspiracy to commit a forcible felony. There will also be a request for $150,000 restitution to be paid to Melody's parents.
Thank you, Mr. Maybanks. Ms. Eimerman, would the defense like to be heard?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. The court has little discretion by way of sentencing options in this case, Your Honor, so I'll be brief. I would simply ask that I believe count 3, conspiracy to commit a forcible felony, was pled and submitted to the jury with the underlying felony being murder and or kidnapping. And given that count 1 and count 2 found my client guilty of murder and kidnapping, I believe that count 3 should merge with 1 or frankly both of those, which would leave counts 1 and counts 2. Given that they arise from the same set of operative circumstances, I would ask that those sentences be removed currently.
So, Mr. Louisma, now's the time in the hearing where you can address the court. This is referred to as your right of allocution. You're not required to say anything. Is there anything you'd like to say today? All right, so we'll now hear victim impact statements. Mr. Maybanks, I think you said we're going to have 2 today, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
We can go ahead and hear from those at this time. If you'd have the first and step forward, is that Tyler Hoffman?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Hoffman, I'm just going to have you first just state your name, and then you can go ahead and make your statement.
My name is Tyler Hoffman. I was asked to give a victim impact statement, an opportunity for me to share how this crime has impacted me. But no, I will not be sharing how this has impacted me. I will not share the impact of hearing Megan's vehicle say Melody when she calls somebody from the vehicle's UI, because Melody is the first contact, and she has not deleted Melody as a contact. I will not share the impact of having to sign her out of my Xbox every time I turn the Xbox on because I use her controller, or the impact of the Xbox saying goodbye, Melody, as a result of using her controller to sign in. I will not share the impact of knowing her paintings will no longer grace the presence of any material when I see her painted bedroom door, the painted bathroom door, the painting in the living room, or the shed she painted. I will not share the impact of taking 4 months off of work at a career I've had to work hard at. I will not be sharing how this has impacted me because I can't even be honest with the true impact of this. I would be sharing this impact through an experience I don't even understand. You don't know what that means. That's okay. You don't know what any of this means. I will not be sharing how this has impacted me because that thing will not be able to understand, let alone empathize, sympathize with how this has impacted me. If that thing has the imagination to bring about this reality, then there's no need for me to share this impact, as that thing's imagination could provide that over the next couple lifetimes he spends behind bars. I will not share the impact of having to live in the reality that thing imagined instead of one of the many I imagined. I will not share the impact of deciding to believe in a previously abandoned pantheon just so some solace is gained from knowing that thing will spend an eternity in the lower levels of hell. I will not share the impact of wondering what would have been a child that was yours, as opposed to what the other girlfriend gave you. No, I won't be sharing how this impacted me. There are no sighs, facial expression, words, or any form of communication, new or old, that would be able to accurately capture the impact this has had. No, I will not be sharing how this has impacted me.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. When you're ready, you just state your name and then you can make your statement.
Okay. My name's Megan Hoffman.
know Melody would want me to forgive you, but I'm not sure that'll ever happen. And if it does, it's only for her, not you. You have taken so much from me, my family, friends, and even complete strangers that have reached out. Melody will live forever in each and every one of us. She will be remembered for the kind, caring, loving, organized, silly, artistic, music-loving, slime-making, selfie-taking, video-making, supper-cooking, animal-loving girl we all remember. I've even learned that she will even be a part of future generations of Iowa law enforcement education, continuing to teach about technology and how everyday people can use it to benefit their lives, and how law enforcement can use it to help solve crimes that will put criminals like you away where they belong, and hopefully bring some justice to families of these vicious, sinful, vile, malicious, evil, villainous crimes. I'm sure her Wednesday morning coffee boys, retired law enforcement agents, are ecstatic to hear this. Justice will be served to those who deserve it, to its fullest here on earth. A much higher power will get the final justice. I have no doubt when your time comes, you will not be allowed in the same place we all know Melody is now, with her sister and our only grandchild, safe and far away from everything evil. I will fight every day to keep her memory alive and strong, and let her live on as long as I can through me. I know I'm not the only one determined to do this. So, from all of her loved ones, we all wish you the life that you deserve until you take your last breath. When I first met you, I only asked 3 things of you. Don't lie to me. You have multiple times, but I see through them. Don't bring your gun into my home. You did, and I kicked you out. Respect everyone and take care of each other. This one for you and Mel. She always cared for you. However, you did not respect or care for her, or you wouldn't have done this or allowed this to happen. Therefore, you have broken every single one of my rules. You fucked with the wrong mama. You messed with the wrong family. I'm sorry you never felt like you fit in to our family. I now know you could never fit into a caring, loving, supportive family. I'm sorry you never experienced a family with such strong characteristics. In fact, I don't see any of your relatives here supporting you today. Maybe the issue is you, and not the rest of us. I know at one time you asked her, "Are you scared of me now?" And to that I ask you, are you scared of her now? Are you scared of me now? Now that your only view will be obstructed by bars for the rest of your life. I knew she was with you from the moment she left our home. I knew where she was and what happened to her, even though you told me you didn't. I only ever gave one name to law enforcement personnel during this whole investigation. Your name. I was following her Life 360 location. I knew where she had been, and I found her phone on the side of the road. Some call me a helicopter mom. I call it being a loving, caring, concerned, supportive mother. All Melody wanted to do was to care for you and support you. She begged me to let you stay with us so you wouldn't have to sleep in your car during the winter. She would frequently ask me for money so you could have gas or food. I want you to think about this every time it's cold outside and you have a warm place to be. Every meal you eat, every time you lay down on the bed provided for you, Melody is still providing for you. She will provide for you. She will provide those bars you now live behind for the rest of your life. I will let Melody have the last words you'll ever hear from me or my family. Bubby, what the fuck? Have fun with his goofy ass. Adios, amigos.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. So the sentence in this case for murder in the first degree, kidnapping in the first degree, are each mandatory sentences of life in prison. That's the sentence the court will be imposing. While those sentences are mandatory, those are also the sentences that the court finds to be appropriate for these very violent, cruel, and completely senseless acts. Sir, your offenses are obviously devastating to Melody Hoffman's family, but they also undercut really the safety and feelings of security for the entire community. A sentence of life in prison with no possibility of parole is the appropriate sentence for these crimes, and they're necessary for the protection of the community. The maximum sentence for the offense of conspiracy to commit a forcible felony is a 10-year indeterminate prison term. While it's largely symbolic in this case, given the sentences of life in prison, for the other offenses, the court finds that the maximum sentence of 10-year indeterminate term is the appropriate sentence based on the level of planning involved and the fact that the forcible felony involved is a Class A felony. So at this time, the court adjudicates defendant to be guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Sections 707.1 and 707.21B. And as a sanction for this offense, a defendant is committed to the custody of the director of the Iowa Department of Corrections for the rest of his life. The court further adjudicates defendant to be guilty of the offense of kidnapping in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Sections 710.1 and 710.2. And as a sanction for this offense, defendant is committed to the custody of the director of the Iowa Department of Corrections for the rest of his life. As to each of these offenses, the defendant shall not be released on parole unless the governor later commutes the sentence to a term of years. The court further adjudicates defendant to be guilty of the offense of conspiracy to commit a forcible felony in violation of Iowa Code Sections 706.1B and 706.31. And as a sanction for this offense, defendant is committed to the custody of the director of the Department of Corrections for an indeterminate term not to exceed 10 years in order to pay a fine in the amount of $1,370. Defendant is given credit for all qualifying time previously served on this offense, and the terms of incarceration as to this offense only may be reduced because of good time work credits and program credits, and defendant may be eligible for parole before sentence is discharged. The sentences shall run concurrently to each other. Temporary custody is placed with the sheriff pending transfer to the DOC. Pursuant to Section 910.3B, defendant shall pay restitution in the amount of $150,000 to the estate of Melody Hoffman if an estate exists, and if no estate exists, to Melody Hoffman's heirs at law. Is there any other pecuniary damages being claimed?
Your Honor, there's a crime of assistance petition, I believe, in there, so, that, which I can file this on. $709.
And is there any objection to that claim, Ms. Eimerman? So the court will order that as provided in the statement of pecuniary damages on file. Defendants are presumed under the law to have the ability to pay what we call Category B restitution. I do have before me the required application and financial affidavit filed by defendant on November 15th of this year, requesting a determination as to defendant's reasonable ability to pay those. Does the state have a position on that application?
You're not going to resist it, fine. You just have not need to pay.
All right. Court does find that defendant does not have the ability to pay Category B restitution and waives the same. This determination does not have any effect on the order for Category A victim restitution, including the obligation to pay the $150,000 to the heirs of Melody Hoffman. Defendant shall submit a physical specimen for DNA profiling pursuant to Iowa Code Sections 81.2 and 901.58A sub A. Defendant's prior bail provisions are exonerated, no appeal bond is set. In determining the sentence, I've considered defendant's age and circumstances, the nature and circumstances of these offenses, and the fact that the sentences for murder first and kidnapping first are mandatory under Iowa law. I find that the sentences will offer the defendant the maximum opportunity for rehabilitation and provide for the protection of the community. Mr. Louisma, you have the right to appeal this case to the Iowa Supreme Court. If you're unable to pay the cost of an appeal, you have the right to apply to the court for appointment of counsel and for the furnishing of a transcript of the proceedings, all as provided in Iowa Code Chapter 814. In order to perfect an appeal, you must file a notice of appeal with the clerk of court here in Lynn County within 30 days from today's date. This is a jurisdictional requirement, which means that if you do not file your notice of appeal within 30 days, you will be forever giving up your right to appeal. Likewise, failure to comply with the other provisions of Iowa Code Chapter 814 could preclude you from pursuing your appeal. If you do appeal, you must cause to be served on or delivered to the Iowa Attorney General a copy of the notice of appeal. Is there anything that either counsel believes I've missed today? Ms. Eimerman?
Your Honor, just to follow up, I can't tell from looking at the docket entries. The court did order the state to submit its closing PowerPoint in some form as a court exhibit. I can't tell if that's been done or not. If it hasn't been done, could it be done before we close the record?
It was done, and I entered a separate exhibit management order on November 18th at 10:51 a.m. that included the state's PowerPoint on a flash drive and your PowerPoint that was submitted electronically.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you confirming that.
All right. So with that, we'll close the record. Thank you all.
The system's rigged, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people, we'll make them see a world of justice, united and free. United and free. United and free. Marching with a purpose, we're taking it higher. Fighting through the struggle, igniting the fire. No more silence, we'll make the noise loud. Together in this battle, standing strong and proud. Injustice fades when courage aligns. Rise up together, break the confines. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people, we'll make them see a world of justice, united and free. United and free. United and free. So rise up now, it's our time to shine. Together we'll write a new paradigm. You paradigm, you paradigm. Whoa, whoa. We're the voices that